Yesterday, International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor held a symposium into the solutions to the challenges that are faced by Zimbabwe. It is, of course, a symposium to solve what was going on there. She suggests that the political hostility in the country is one of the areas that need attention before we can even begin to see an economic recovery in that part of South Africa. Now, Pandor was speaking to a group of academics as well as professionals who could possibly be coming up with solutions into the situation of what's happening in Zimbabwe. For more on that, I'm joined now in the studio by Professor Arthur Mutambara, academic and a former Zimbabwe Deputy Prime Minister, to outline for us what are some of those challenges. Prof, it's good to have you with us. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
So first and foremost, you say in order for us to come up with solutions for Zimbabwe, we need to understand the nature of the problem in Zimbabwe and the character of the problems. Outline that for us.
You see, it's very important that we do that. The nature and character of the problems in Zimbabwe. There are political challenges in Zimbabwe which are linked to economic problems as well. But what are the political problems? One fundamental problem we have in the country is the management of our national elections. 2002, 2008, 2013, 2018, the same problem. We need a structured approach, produce credible, free and fair outcomes so that those who are defeated in those elections are able to congratulate the winners and not have a disputed outcome. So one of the major problems we have polarization is because the results of the 2018 elections are challenged by the MDC alliance. So we need to come up with a solution, a long-term solution in terms of the management of our national elections. That's problem number one.
So the characterization then by the Minister of International Relations, would you say, hit the nail in the head?
Very correct.
He says there's deep antipathy between the political formations in Zimbabwe and that political divisions are making it difficult even for external assistance to come through.
Yeah, she's very correct, but we need to go further than that and say, what is the cause of the polarization? And I'm saying one of the major problems is the inability in our country to organize elections that produce results which are not contested. Right. And so if there's going to be any intervention, reforms, political reforms, electoral reforms, media reforms, which are meant to deliver an outcome which is undisputed, is one of the fundamental issues.
Now, 2017, you saw it, we saw it, old, young, fathers, mothers, daughters, all celebrating on the streets of Zimbabwe with a hope of a new era. And now we are talking hopelessness, we're talking despondency, we're talking disappointment. What went wrong? Were they sold a fallacy?
It was a major missed opportunity in the sense that there was global convergence of goodwill. Goodwill in the country, goodwill in SADC, goodwill in the continent, goodwill globally, from America, from Europe. Everyone was excited about the moment. But it was a false moment in the sense that those who came into power, Mnangagwa and his team, missed an opportunity to put together a team which was inclusive, opposition, civic society, and business, so that they can harness the goodwill. They missed a huge opportunity. They squandered an opportunity. And right now we're back to where we were in 2008, if not worse, because there was lack of leadership. There was lack of strategic things that came to power. The people who marched were not marching for ZANU-PF. They were marching for a new arrangement, a break with the past. And those that took over power went for selfish, short-term interests. In fact, they went against their own interests. If they were clever, they've put together an arrangement which is inclusive, which would have propelled them further. They'll be much popular now, but they missed the opportunity. So lack of leadership, lack of strategic thinking on part of those who took over after 2017.
So calls for the end to sanctions against Zimbabwe by SADC and all others who are supporting Zimbabwe. Firstly, are they legitimate calls? And one would say they're probably genuine. But would the removal of sanctions help Zimbabwe in any way?
That is the wrong conversation. Number one, There are reasons why sanctions were put in place. What are we doing as Zimbabweans to remove those reasons given for the imposition of sanctions? Secondly, sanctions are a symptom. Sanctions are a symptom.
Yeah.
They're a symptom. They're fundamental problems that we do control. And in any case, when you say sanctions, there are two types of sanctions. There are sanctions imposed upon you by external players,
yes,
like what you're referring to.
Yes.
There are sanctions you impose upon yourself: corruption, misgovernance, violation of human rights, rigging of elections. Those are sanctions we do control.
Let's talk about the external sanctions. What has been the impact of those sanctions on citizens? They've only served to deepen the problem. I mean, millions of I mean, it just doubled now between September and October.
Let me make this clear. I do not support sanctions against Zimbabwe. Sanctions imposed by Zimbabweans, sanctions imposed by foreigners. They do not help our country. But I'm saying that an effective way to address the sanctions we're talking about is by behaving well ourselves, by doing things we control ourselves. Then we make more sense when we approach the Americans, when we approach Europe and Britain to remove their own measures. So I do not support the measures. The measures are negative. But I'm saying there's no point in running around like headless chickens talking about measures imposed by other people when we ourselves as a people are busy imposing measures against ourselves.
Let's talk about that. How far is Zim then from a shared notion, a shared solution, and a way of seeing things the same?
The starting point we're still far away from that. Yeah. The starting point is to agree what is the nature of the problem. And I'm saying electoral reforms that will lead to free and fair elections. Let's agree that we need that. Secondly, let us have proper dialogue between the opposition MDC alliance, ZANU-PF on the other hand, the civic society, business, all inclusive, not the charade we have in the country, so-called Pollard. So unless and until we are sincere about the agenda of the dialogue, unless we're clear about the cause of our problems, then we are very far away from that. But I'm sure we can get there.
Is that going to be a Zimbabwean-led process, or should SADC, should South Africa, should any of those countries?
Ostensibly, Zimbabweans must be masters of their own destiny. We must step up to the plate and say, what can we do to salvage our country? That is the fundamental issue to start with. However, having said that, the South Africans, the Malawians, the Nigerians, SADC, the AU must take what we call a vested interest approach to Zimbabwe, because the success of Zimbabwe is the success of South Africa. The success of Zimbabwe is the success of SADC. The success of Zimbabwe is the prosperity of the continent. Good old-fashioned Pan-Africanism rooted in economics and technology. We will never be respected as South Africans, as Malawians, as Nigerians, as long as there's chaos and starvation in an African country. So yes, Zimbabweans must be the key players in the resolution of the issues of Zimbabwe. But Africans across the board must take a vested interest approach, because we are all Africans.
Prof, much appreciated. Thanks for your time and your analysis this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Professor Arthur Mutambara, academic as well as former Zimbabwean Deputy Prime Minister, is inside the analysis into the economic solutions, or at least a solution to the economic woes that are currently being faced in Zimbabwe. When we come back from the break, the 14-year-old boy who drowned while trying to rescue another boy has been described as a hero. We'll cover that story in a moment. Do stay with us. Your reporting continues on the newsfeed straight after this.